started on a project that I've been needing to do for a while now. And that's add this winch hookup underneath the hood. I've got a portable winch that I use for different things, and I need to get this hooked up close to these batteries. And I think what I'm gonna end up doing is probably making a mount for the positive post and attaching it to this inner fender well. And in doing so, getting rid of these stacked eyelets. I just cleaned this battery post recently. These cables stacked on top of that marine type hookup just get corroded and the wing nut ends up loosening. Also, I'm going to end up making some battery boxes and some hold downs to get these batteries held down properly. This one doesn't even have anything, it's just loose. I'm going to lay this connection down in here and end up making another connection for the negative to go over here on the firewall, and then over here for the positive. Have several studs out on that so that all these can hook up individually. My plan is to take a piece of this 304 stainless steel and sandwich it between a couple of pieces of this old plastic cutting board. And I've got stainless steel bolts that I'll run through it to bolt these eyelets on, and along the way I'll make a couple of battery cables. All right, I got the pieces rough cut here. Got that stainless piece cut out with a plasma cutter. Here's all the studs in. Got a recess in here for this plate thickness. I'll have to press this in on the vise probably. That goes on there. Then I've recessed this for the heads. I'll get all this pressed together and then sand these pieces together and trim them up. Get some mounting holes through here for bolts to bolt that to the fender. So here it is assembled. Put a couple of lugs on here as an example. I thought I was going to just take this plastic cutting board and trim it up on the belt sander, but it just melted this, so I had to get after it with a wood rasp. It's not perfect. It's pretty good. You can still see cut marks on here from probably my wife cutting chicken or something. I got the mounting bolts here. This is what's going to hold it to the fender well. I ended up using a Forstner bit to countersink these, so I had a flat bottom. This is the position I'm going to put it in. I've got this mount, this void where I'm going to mount this. I'll have to fill that in so I have some place to bolt that, but that's the idea. All right, now on to the negative side. I only need 3 posts on that, and I don't have to insulate it with that cutting board, so it should go a little faster. Got all my layout lines, and on this piece of mild steel, I got my offset figured out, so time to cut it out. I'll use the plasma cutter to cut this stainless steel in the shop that I'm tripping over everything. Well, it's not a shop, it's my 2-car garage. And I am thankful for it because I used to be working out of the barnyard. So it's a step up, and hopefully soon I'll be building a shop. When I built this house, I never intended on working out of this garage. It was just going to be for parking our vehicles. So I got very few outlets out here. I've got an outlet for the chest high freezer, another outlet in case you had to put a battery charger on something. No task lighting, so I got extension cords all around, equipment packed in here, but it's not the barnyard. Now I'll break the offsets in this piece with this press and my mother-in-law's readers that she left here on a recent visit. Here it is assembled. Got the offset just enough to clear these heads so that it mounts flush. Had a little bit of a gouge right here from that bad start when I was cutting that out. Kind of aggravating, but I think I'm gonna leave it. Now to get these mounted. I was trying to fit this piece of sheet metal up in that hole and accidentally dropped it down inside that fender well. I would have made another one, but I already had the backside of that painted and it was dry and I was ready to put it in. So it was about half hour, 45 minutes delay fishing that thing out. I wasn't planning on putting this at an angle like that, but that's going to be the best position for these cables to lay. And I guess besides, it doesn't look much different than all of these angles that Ford put on there. Now onto the battery tray. Looks like this is a two-piece battery tray. Here's a support piece here. All of it's pretty rusty. See if we can get these bolts out. I can tell you right now, these suckers are going to break off. I found these pieces online, reproduction pieces, and it's about $100 for both of these, and I don't want to spend that on this. If I was doing a restoration, I'd probably buy it, but I'm not. I'm maintaining this vehicle, so I'm going to make something out of sheet metal or steel or a combination of both. All right, I made a couple of pieces to replace this bottom tray that goes underneath this fender well. Angle iron piece takes the place of that. I got a tab here. It's going to be this piece. This angle iron will go underneath this right here. This tab, I've got the center lines for the mounting holes on the fender. I'll get those drilled, and then I'll get this bent and trimmed to mount to this side of this angle iron. All right, this support piece that went across like this is being replaced by this piece. It's not exactly the same, but there was other mounting, things mounted off of that I'm not going to use. So this is the piece. I'm going to put it on there. The next stop is going to be making a hold down for the battery. Here's that piece installed. That completes the battery tray. All the support's there now. Now I need to make a way to clamp the battery down to the tray. It's a little hard to see, but this bracket is going to weld onto that and hold this into the battery, and I'll make another hold down similar for the fender side, and then we'll go across the top with a way to clamp down to that, and that'll finish it. Here's the angle iron hold down, 5/16 all thread going down to that lower mount. We can take all this apart, get it cleaned up and painted, put it back on the truck for real. Battery number 2. Found some more of that cutting board. Looks like this side's going to be a lot easier and quicker to make. I think I'll just make an angle iron frame that fits the battery case closer, and same type of hold down as the other side. This actually looks pretty good. We mount to that and probably take that out and figure out a mount coming right off the fender. Get that angle iron tray in there, and I think it's going to be it. Here's the battery tray in position. I cut this bracket off of the original to mount this puke tank and washer fluid. This thing's busted up, but I want to keep these original mounts in case I replace this. And these original mounts I'll be able to use with a little bit of altering. All right, here it is mounted up. This seems a little bit flimsy, but that's the way it was originally, and it's lasted this long, so until something different happens, we'll go with it. Now on to the hold down for the battery. Hold down is made, and I put a brace in there. I couldn't let that go. Also going to add a bracket on the side right here to bolt that and keep this from tipping down. When I first took that battery out, this is just held by 2 bolts down in here. When I took this battery out, this was tipped way down, and there's nothing really to keep it except the bolts being tight or gripping, and it wasn't doing it. So I'll just weld a tab here and bolt that to that, and that'll fix that. Out with the old and in with the new. Paint's dry. Let's get this on the truck. Here's the tab I added onto this bracket, keep it from tipping down. Get this horn hooked back up. I'm going to reroute this positive battery cable that is mounted to the firewall and bring it around in the front behind this radiator support and shorten it up a little bit. Yeah. I got some number 2 welding cable, some battery terminals, and some eyelets to make up my battery cables for this. But first, let's shorten that positive cable coming from the driver's side battery. Looks like this is going to work out just right. There's a repair here that's probably bare cable underneath there, and where I'm going to cut it is going to be just right for getting rid of that. It's worse than I thought. It's not only bare, but a lot of the strands are cut on it. So it'll fix that. All right, last one. All right, finally finished. I think it turned out pretty good. I've got the negative coming off the block up to this point. Negative comes off of that for this pigtail for the winch. Negative comes off of that for the negative of the battery. Positive post coming up, wrapping around to this block here. The second battery's coming in there. Another cable coming off, going to the starter solenoid. And then at the bottom is the pigtail for that winch. Batteries are very secure, and this worked out pretty good. Taking that off the old rusty piece, this wasn't rusted real bad, and it worked out to let me maintain this stock location for this. Well, I'm glad that this project's finished. It's been on my list for a while, and I think it's gonna end up being everything that I need it to be. So thanks for watching.